Welcome to Commander Choice with the Nitpicking Nerds.
This time we're tuning up Luke Gosling's 4-color Merfolk deck.
Blub blub. I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds, bringing you daily Commander content. If you want to support daily Commander content, well, one way to do it that's free and could have actually already been done by you because it's so freaking easy is just hit subscribe.
Yeah, you hit the subscribe button. If you've already done that and you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com and support us directly. You can support all the little nose itches and side itches that we do in the middle of these videos. For some reason, when you do the regular intro, nose itches tend to come pretty common.
That's interesting. Count how many adjustments we make to our faces this episode and tell us who wins. And if you do, we'll pin your comment. But before you count, you have to go to TCG Player and support the channel by buying cards you would have bought anyway. And when you start with the link, that's the key. Because as soon as you check out, you don't have to do anything. It only matters that you started with the link. And once you're done, money is just sent to us magically.
Same cards, same place, same price. Boom. Supporting the nerds. You can also do dragonshield.com. Go there, use the link EU and US links in the description below, and they sell the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
And they also have great mats and deck boxes, all your MTG accessories you could ever need. Get them on the website, and as long as you start with that link, you're supporting the nerds.
Now, Commander Tune-Ups is a series where we take Patreon or Kickstarter backer submitted decks, and we upgrade them under whatever restrictions you guys send in for us. Luke's 4-color Merfolk deck had a couple stipulations. He wanted to keep it 4 colors, obviously, every color but red. There's an untap and tapping synergy that we wanted to keep in, and you wanted a little sprinkle, a little dazzle, +1/+1 counters with no budget.
Yes, no budget at all, meaning that we're going to add and cut not based on budget at all, which means if we want to add some really expensive cards, we will. We tend to avoid the super staples. So by that we mean we avoid things like your Mana Crypts and your Ristic Studies. And why we avoid those is because, there's an understanding that basically for any deck you can add any number of these super staples and put them in your deck. We tend to avoid them just because I think everyone knows you can put Ristic Study in a deck and make it better.
Well, you're nice enough to donate money to the channel. And do you really want to donate money to the channel for me to tell you that Ristic Study is a good card? It's like, I think we can understand that.
Yeah,
it is.
Exactly.
You watch our videos.
So let's get into this. First thing we got to do, we got to read the commanders. And actually, the very first change comes in the commander slot. So when it came to us, this was Thrasios and Ravos. Both, fine commanders. But there is a sub-theme within just the Merfolks themselves of Island Walk, meaning we'll be able to punch through damage. So we took out Ravos and we added in Tymna. So Tymna is 1 black-white for a 2/2 with lifelink. After combat damage is dealt, you can pay X life, where X is the number of players you've dealt combat damage to, and draw X cards.
And we also have Thrasios, who I think everyone knows what he does at this point, but he's blue-green for a 1/3 Merfolk, so he triggers our tribe. He actually belongs in this deck. He's not just random good stuff. But you can pay 4 to scry 1, then reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a land, boom, into play tapped. Otherwise, you draw it.
Yeah, so actually the commander is surprisingly not very important to this deck whatsoever. This is 4-color Merfolk. The theme is Merfolk. The only thing that matters on Thrasios is the word, Merfolk.
We'll take the ability. I mean, sometimes we have nothing better to do, and that's great.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll use our commanders when we can, but they're not important to the theme of this deck, because the theme of this deck is just Merfolks. That's all we're doing. We're untapping them. That's the main strategy of this deck. We want to tap all of our Merfolks down, and then untap them, and then use them again, and then untap them, and then tap them again.
Yep, we're going to build an extremely large board of Merfolk and beat through or win with our fish combo, or just regular beats, because sometimes we have Island Walk, and sometimes you can't block.
We'll use regular beats. That's going to be most wins, but there is a fish combo in here that is, only 3 cards and actually fairly easy to do.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we got to talk about the best cards that are already in the deck so you get an idea of where we're at. First one, Kumena, Tyrant of Vraska. This is a classic. I mean, this is like the best Merfolk they ever printed. You tap 5 Merfolks, put a counter on all your Merfolks. You can tap 3 Merfolks to draw a card, and you can tap 1 to make this guy not be able to block.
This could not be more...
Other way around. Can't be blocked.
Yeah, this could not be more synergistic for our deck. It gives us a way to tap our Merfolks that don't already have tap abilities. We want to get everything tapped so that we can untap them and use them again in later turns.
He even puts counters on.
He's literally perfect. He does everything this deck wants to do. Unfortunately, he's not 4 colors, else he would be the commander of this deck.
Yeah, because some of the important cards that tap and untap are black and white.
Yeah, it's very true. We also have Stony Brook Schoolmaster. Now, you're going to say, this is a common from Lorwyn, Joe. What are you talking about? How is this important to the deck? It's going to be a main combo piece for this deck. We have a million ways to tap down our Merfolks. When this one gets tapped, it makes a 1/1, and I will go over the combo later when we get to a specific card.
Same card, but with a different effect. It's fallow stage. When it becomes tapped, you draw a card. So whether you're attacking or tapping it forcefully or just doing this with it, you're going to draw a bunch of cards. Opposition lets you tap a creature to tap a permanent, basically. Not only is that good for tapping things like fallow stage, but once you get enough of a board state and enough stuff to do with enough untappers, you just lock people out of the game. I mean, it can be a win condition.
Yeah, exactly. It just lets you keep tapping down all your stuff to tap down their stuff. And if we add in stuff like that lets us untap, which we'll get to later in this video, we're just going to go crazy. And the last thing for the best cards that are in the deck, Cryptolith Rites, again, just another way to turn our creatures into tappers, which this turns them into mana lords, which is super, super strong. All right, now we got to get into the adds and cuts. This is for you, Luke Gosling. I didn't forget your name. I'm perfect. Shut up, Beezy. Right into the video here. The first cut, it's some ramp we got. We cut Arcane Signet. We're a green deck. It is very rare that I think a green deck wants an Arcane Signet. You'd have to have some artifact sub-theme. That's not us. So instead, we replaced it with 3 visits. Nature's Lore was already in here. I mean, if you have Nature's, I can't imagine any deck that is going to want Nature's Lore and not want 3 visits unless the deck's theme is nature.
Or the number 3, if you want to switch them around. That might be something we do, so who knows. But the next one, we cut Chromatic Lantern. I'm not a fan of this almost ever in any situation other than I need to cast spells that aren't mine with colors that aren't mine. That's like it. So we're not playing that card. We're playing Skyshroud Claim instead because it's amazing and it ramps 2 lands that can be untapped.
Yeah, it's a little. This is some of your higher. Like if you're going to go into the 3 ramp, so I think 2 ramp and 1 ramp is the very, very best.
That's 2 mana ramp?
2 mana ramp, 1 mana ramp is insanely strong and the very, very best. I think as soon as you pass 3, there's this like threshold of 3 and 4 drops that you can play, and Skyshroud Claim beats Lantern by a mile. Like you said, there is few and far between decks for that. We also cut Scale the Heights. This card just stinks. I don't think it does anything particularly well. It does a bunch of things poorly.
Poorly, yeah.
And then it adds up to a card that's poor. We added a card that actually I would describe as poor usually. It's Vast Wood Surge, which is explosive vegetations overall. But if you kick it for 4 mana, we can put counters on our team. We do have a sub-theme, so that does work for us.
Yeah, it helps us go wide, and it buffs up the team, and it's versatile. It's not a dead top deck on turn 30.
This next cut isn't technically ramp, but it can draw you land, so I kind of just threw it here. Path to Discovery. Don't think this card's very good overall. Whenever a creature you control enters the battlefield, you get to explore. That's just not that strong overall. So what we added, Noble Hierarch. This deck could maybe play more dorks. They might actually be very good because we have the tap and untap synergies. We just threw in 1 here, and Noble Hierarch's going to be the best one, obviously.
Yeah, it's a creature that becomes tapped. We know it's not a Merfolk, but we're not going to overload on those. I think there's only 5 creatures in the whole deck after this tune-up that are not Merfolk. So don't worry about that, Luke. And Path of Discovery, I feel like that would be a good Magic card if it was always one of the 2. But that because you have no idea what it is, I think that just makes it bad.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you completely on that. Next is some interaction. We cut Heroic Intervention. We're not a big fan of this, especially if you hit blue. I've actually recently put this into a white deck, which is shocking. I know I need to protect non-creatures. Like, white's really good at protecting creatures, just not non-creatures. So I put it in a non-white deck actually recently, but blue were really outfit, so we just traded it for Arcane Denial. We needed more interaction, so to take out a card that's super reactive for a card that is reactive, but way, way less narrow.
And what situation is Heroic Intervention going to get you out of that Arcane Denial couldn't get you out of?
Yeah,
very few.
I mean, the situation is the board wipe that you want to happen for everyone else, but not for you.
Right, and then there's just like, there's also,
It's also the specific board wipe that destroys. I know.
And then there's plenty of spots where a counterspell is just better than that. But okay, let's go to Pongify, which gets cut. I was going to go like this, but I'm not killing Pongify. Just get out of here, Pongify. It's a kind of weird spot removal. The deck already had some spot removal. We have Nature's Claim. There was Dovin's Veto, and there was some Beast Within. And so we added Windgrace's Judgment. We just want some reach. We want some 2-for-1 value to be able to interact with everybody all at once, kind of like a catch-all.
Yeah, I want to say something about Pognify. It is a good Magic card. This card falls off as you expand into colors.
It's for like Izzet and Mono Blue, right?
It's basically just for Izzet and Mono Blue. Other colors are just good enough at answering creatures that you don't need to go with Pognify. Pognify, great in the Izzet and Mono Blue decks.
And Simic, sorry.
And Simic, yeah, but it starts to fall off as soon as you get out of that. So it's like
we have white and black.
Yeah, we have white and black. That those colors can answer creatures for sure.
Aetherize, it's a cut. I hate this card. I feel like you just can't hold up mana and fall into the spot where it's good. and tell me that another card just wouldn't be better. So we're going to play Toxic Deluge instead. If we have the biggest creature, which is possible, especially with counters thrown around, then we get to keep it. That's great. And we get to wipe the board modally, however we want, for always 3 mana.
Yeah, I mean, Toxic Deluge is one of the best board wipes. We wanted at least a board wipe in our list, and, we're cutting poop, so we're cutting poop for an amazing card, so that's a huge upgrade. We cut Marrow Bonar. This is now going into the Merfolk section. We're talking about Merfolks now. This is like weird graveyard hate. We're never triggering second ability.
We can't cast black spells.
I think you need to be. So I would think you want to be in a meta where this is randomly super powerful.
Like a silver bullet.
A silver bullet graveyard meta. And even then.
Can I introduce you to Soul Guide Lantern?
Exactly. Soul Guide Lantern is going to do the same thing a lot better a lot of the time. So overall, I'm just not interested in this weird 1/1 for 1. We added Merfolk Looter. This is a tap and untap deck. What better thing to do than to loot every single time we can untap it?
Yeah, I was surprised this wasn't in here. I was like, this is like the untap looter guy, or the Merfolk guy.
There's literally the one that levels up in the deck already.
Into a Merfolk looter.
It goes into Merfolk Looter, then eventually into like a really good card.
Into Archivist, yeah.
Yeah, into Archivist. But that's super cool. But it's just like, it's funny that we didn't have this one in here yet.
Deep Root Elite's getting cut because it's kind of just a big vanilla with no evasion. It's like the Champion of the Parish of this tribe. Champion of the Parish never makes it because it doesn't do anything. This doesn't do anything except get counters, but we don't need counters. We just need some extra counters on our guys. This guy's not helping at all. We're going to add Lull Mage Mentor instead. This is going to help us with our tap-untap strategy because we can tap 7 untapped Merfolk to counter a spell, and then whenever we counter a spell, even with something like Arcane Denial on the side, we get a Merfolk token.
Yeah, exactly. This card is actually just really, really strong. It can even get to the point of annoyingly oppressive.
Like you just dominate.
I mean, if you ever get to 21 Merfolks, how are you losing that game? Oh, the answer is you're not. You're never losing that game.
Oh, we have cards coming up that'll just make us win the game with 7 Merfolk.
Yep, no, that's very true. We also have Merfolk Skydiver.
As a cut.
Yes, as a cut. So something interesting about this card is it does kind of go along with the proliferate and the counter strategy. This card is, I think, just bad. It's basically a 2/2 flyer for 2, but you can put the counter elsewhere. But you're never. 5 mana is way too much to proliferate, which is what pushes this card out of contention for the deck. Added, Cold-Eyed Selkie holds counters really well. Lots of players are playing Island. It's going to just be unblockable by itself, and we have ways to make our opponents get islands.
Yeah, any reason I would play Merfolk Skydiver makes me want to play Cold-Eyed Selkie instead, and then if you really are a Skydiver fan, find another cut to put it in because they're both really good with Tymna, except Cold-Eyed Selkie is just good by itself.
Yeah, exactly. So Selkie's just, it holds counters better. I mean, there's very few scenarios you're going to get into where you're going to be activating that proliferate ability. I would say it's almost 0, and it's so low that it's not worth putting in your deck.
Right. Jungleborn Pioneer, it's a virtual limited vanilla, so we cut it. I'm not going to really even bother reading it, but we added Rootwater Hunter, which is just a Tim. It's 2 and a blue for a 1/1 Merfolk that just taps to ping things, and we're all about that life of untapping, retapping. Just this thing's going to start machine gunning it on creatures. And, I got to say, I don't envy Wizards' position having to name all these cards. But, a lot of them just come down to this is less creative than just calling it blue-green or green-blue hunter. Not about it.
Rootwater Hunter? What do you mean? Yeah, you don't understand anything, BZ. We also cut Vine Shaper Mystic, put some counters on stuff, very weak. We added Empress Galena.
Nasty.
Super nasty in the format of Commander because it steals legends.
It just steals them. Not until she leaves, not until on a turn, forever. They have to deal with getting their legend back. And they're also going to have to deal with Galena because they can't just get their legend back. They have to answer Galena. And this is just going to be amazing. We're going to be tapping and untapping her. And if she stays out, I can't imagine we lose.
I mean, she's going to, at minimum, keep commanders off the board.
It's a sub-game of hey, kill this or lose.
Yeah, exactly. Every single legend you have in your hand, you're not going to play because it can just be stolen for basically free.
You can steal legendary lands.
Yeah,
steal a Nykthos, steal Guy's Cradle.
Yeah, this card is this card reads really well. It's such a good card that I've never really played.
A 6-mana 2/2 that makes our blue creatures unblockable is what Deep Channel Mentor is, and we're going to cut that for Herald of Secret Streams. We always call him a legendary creature because he's Herald of Secret Streams. And with our creatures that have counters on, we're going to sprinkle them with Fastwood Surge you already saw, so we're sprinkling the counters on, and then, all of a sudden, nothing can be blocked.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, this card is going to do the same thing as our Deep Channel Mentor is going to do, except for not only for blue creatures, but it is only for counters, which we can do more efficiently. We can't change any of our creatures to blue there in blue.
Yeah, that's not happening. Ink Fathom Witch wants our creatures to be unblocked, but we want it out of the deck because when it was one of the last cuts. We had all these cards and we're just like, we don't need this card, and we're going to be able to close way more securely and efficiently than this.
Yeah.
So Sage of Fables is coming in. It makes our wizards enter with an additional counter, which is pretty weird. It itself is a wizard, but also a merfolk, and we can pay 2 and remove a counter from any creature we control to draw a card. So now all these little things we're sprinkling on, we don't care where they are, but we'll take them off and draw some cards.
For our next cut, Jade Light Ranger is another kind of vanilla creature.
It's filler.
If you're not hitting lands to draw, then it's literally a vanilla creature, and that's awful. We don't want to be doing that whatsoever. We added in Sea Hunter, which lets us just tutor up merfolks every turn, and it's a tap ability, so we have ways to use this over and over again.
And it tutors it into play. End of turn, Empress Galena, you're tapped out. Okay, you're about to be really miserable, or we can cheat out Tishana's in the deck. 3 mana, 7 drop, draw a bunch of cards.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that these cheat into play is what makes the Hunter.
The cycle's really good.
Yeah, there's a whole cycle of them. I think it's Beast,
Mog Catcher,
It's Beast, Goblins, and Merfolk, and I can't think of the
Elves is like the Elf Poacher or something.
It's Elves, and then we're missing one, but whatever.
Zombie Kidnapper.
Maybe it is Zombie
Napper.
Zombie Napper, yeah. It's a sleepy zombie. We also took out Zagana Utopian Speaker. It's okay.
It survived a long time. It made it into the very end, and we were like, wait a minute. This doesn't do anything. It draws a card once, and it says counters, and it says counter synergy, but not in any way that matters.
I think this card's just a poopy design that ended up just not being good. And that's okay, because not every card has to be a home run. We added in Seagate Loremaster. This guy essentially just reads tap to draw a card. We don't care that we're not going to have any other allies in the deck. That's not what this is about. It's all about tapping the draw card because we're going to be able to untap him really, really easily.
There's at least one other ally in this deck that we will get to. Yes, there is. So we're going to go to Sig River Guide. Both Sigs were in here. The blue-white one is just not very good. I'm not holding up all this mana to protect my merfolk from only spot removal. It's just not a game I'm wanting to play. So we're cutting Sig. The blue-white one. The blue-black one's still in here. He's great. We're cutting it for Vorel of the Hulklade, Merfolk, with a tap ability, and +1/+1 counter synergies. This is a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, pretty much just fits the deck literally perfectly. You literally just listed everything.
That's the deck.
It's you listed the deck, and it does all the deck things.
Reflections of Lityara is an interesting card. I don't know what tribes actually want this, but I don't think the answer is Merfolk, so we're going to cut it from this deck. A lot of setup for not a ton of payoff. Maybe if we cared about tokens, but we just don't. But we're adding in an ally. It's Realmwalker, who's also a Merfolk. You name Merfolk every time. You can cast Merfolk from the top of your deck. It's going to be a great time. It's just a party.
Yeah, the thing about Realmwalker that is super nice is we really went with a high count in this deck. I think we're at 40 about.
There's at least 35 Merfolk.
Yeah, there's a really high number of Merfolk in this deck, which means we're going to be casting off the top pretty dang often.
Alpha status. Tribal payoff for Merfolk, but it's only pumping up 1 Merfolk. And we're not exactly going to be commander damaging somebody with Thrasios. So I don't see that this has a home in the deck. If you want to try to go to Voltron route, that's a whole nother deck. So we're cutting it for a more fitting, really just the exact same card, but it's 10 times better. It's Coat of Arms.
Yeah.
All your creatures get +1/+1 for all your other Merfolk. It's alpha status times 100.
Coat of Arms is one of the best finishers in all of tribal decks. It's almost every tribal deck can just slam this in, besides maybe dragons.
Right.
You can just throw this in any tribal deck and it is going to be one of your best finishers. It's a great card. We also cut Deep Root Water. When you cast a Merfolk, you get a little tiny Merfolk.
You mean blue-green waters?
No, Deep Root, easy.
Sorry.
You're not understanding. We replaced it with a better tribal thing, and it's Kindred Summons, instant, for however many Merfolk we already have on the battlefield.
Double it.
We double it. We just reveal until we have that many more Merfolk.
And they all go in play. This was nuts in an elf deck I built, and I got to imagine it's going to be similar here because we can make some Merfolk tokens with the Stony Brook Schoolmaster and other friends, and it's just going to get out of hand really quick. And I want to mention one of the cards we didn't mention that it's in this deck, Kindred Discovery, which is just an absolutely nuts magic card that every blue tribal deck needs to have.
Yeah. So now we're moving from Merfolk kind of. We're cutting a Merfolk here, and we're going into Untap Synergies, which we cut Zera Sands because, yeah, it's a Merfolk, but it doesn't do anything this deck wants to do. It basically reads nothing like what our deck is.
We can't ensure they're going to have a creature or permanent that we care about, and we're not even, we can sneak through creatures, but to what end? To what end, I ask you? What did we add, though? This card's insane.
We added Seedborn Muse. We have infinite tap abilities, and we want to keep using our guys over and over by tapping them over and over. This is the perfect way to do it. Every single turn, untap all of your permanents.
If we have Low Mage Mentor and Seaborn Muse, how is the game not over? Like your best spell each turn. If you try to wipe the board, I'm stopping it. If you do anything else, I don't care. And then guess what? Next turn, I untap again.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's a completely insane combo that is going to lead you winning a lot of games.
Yeah. Oh, Cryptolith's right. All right. Activate all my lands. Tap them all for mana. Tap all my lands. Activate every ability ever. Draw a bunch of cards. Get more mana to do it next turn. And it just goes out of hand. You have to kill Seaborn Muse immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Next card is a bad Seaborn Muse. It's Marrow Commerce, which says you untap all your Merfolks in their player's turn. Sure, it's only 2 mana, but it's only your Merfolks. It can be okay, but I just don't think we need it. Now, here's the combo I was talking about earlier.
Here's the nuts.
Yeah, this card is insane. It is Intruder Alarm. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control. No, wait. Period. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, period, untap all creatures.
Great.
This is insane. It counts when your opponent's creatures enter. Creatures don't untap during their untap step. We don't care.
Right.
Because we're going to play a creature and get one. So the combo I was mentioning earlier is Stony Brook Schoolmaster, Intruder Alarm, and a way to tap it. So if it taps for mana, you have infinite mana. If it taps to mill your opponents, like with one of the other cards in this deck, infinite mills.
Yeah, what happens is you tap the Schoolmaster to make a mana or to do whatever it can do with the ability. Now the trigger happens to make a token, and your master's tapped. So guess what? It just untaps because of the trigger, and now you can just do it again and start all over. And we do have Drowner of Secrets, which says tap a Merfolk you control, tap an untap Merfolk. Somebody mills a card. So we use the Drowner of Secrets to tap, I guess, all of our Merfolk, but most importantly, the Stony Brook Schoolmaster, who then mills somebody for a card, makes a token, and we start over and mill everyone's deck.
Yeah, you're going to be able to produce one with this, with no matter basically what you're tapping, because not only, like, say you have Kumena, you can use Kumena tap to make Kumena unblockable. Oof. Get a 1/1 and tap it. Oh, but then you just keep getting more creatures. Now Kumena can just tap them to draw cards.
I mean, I don't see this card. If it survives a turn cycle, you're like locked to win the game. I don't know how miserable is it going to be to have to play against this when you go like, okay, you can play a creature, you can play your commander this turn, but I'm going to draw, discard, draw 2 cards, add 5 mana to my mana pool, and then cast a spell. It's like, well, I just want to play a creature then. They're just going to lose.
Yeah, the card is absolutely perfect for this deck. Something else we cut Throne of the God Pharaoh. Kind of fit the theme of getting our stuff tapped, but it just wasn't quite good enough for us, we thought. We added in Glare of Subdual, which is a worse version of Opposition, but Opposition's one of the best cards in the deck. We'll take a slightly worse version.
Can't tap lands, but it can fog everyone's commander, everyone's blockers. It's just going to shut people down. I like having redundant copies of this. When they think they're safe and they blow up Opposition, you go, here's a slightly worse version. They're like, crap.
Yeah, exactly. It is, like you said, it's worse, but with Opposition being one of the best cards in the deck, it's thought to be one of the top 10 cards in the deck instead.
Darn it. We did cut a really good card that is kind of like a thematic preference. We cut a Zombie Lady of Scrolls who says tap a wizard, draw a card, and she's not a Merfolk. And we figured the ally, who's Seagate something, who taps to draw a card, is functionally similar. Obviously, it's worse. Like, we're not saying it's a better Magic card, but it's certainly more thematic. So we cut a zombie. That's optional, but we did add 1,000-Year Elixir, which I guess turns the Seagate Lore Master into a zombie because it gives all of our tapped abilities haste and it lets us untap a creature.
Yes, a zombie's the better card, and if you want the deck to be stronger and you're looking to win more, you probably put a zombie in over the Lore Master. That's totally a reasonable way to go. We wanted to up the Merfolk count, so we ended up cutting a zombie, basically for Lore Master, but we also added 1,000-Year Elixir, which is a bonkers card.
Yeah, now Sword of Truth and Justice is not a card I like in pretty much any deck, and I get the counters theme, but we're cutting it for Song of Freyalise, which is going to spread counters across all of our creatures, but not before it gives us the chance to tap them for mana on our turns twice.
It does both of our themes. It lets us tap our creatures, all of them. They're just going to gain the ability to be mana dorks, and it's going to let us put counters on our team. It's perfect for this deck.
Yeah, when I heard the theme was Merfolk that tapped to do something, I'm like, how many cards could possibly fit this? And then I was so surprised that we found that many cards that worked.
Besides anything, surprisingly, when he said Merfolk tap theme, I'm like, is that a theme? Is that something Merfolk do? Apparently it is.
Guess so.
It just is. There's a ton of Merfolk that tap to do things, it turns out. We cut Augmenter, Pugilist. I have no clue. I mean, when I say I have no clue this guy was doing a deck, I can't even come up with an idea. I don't know for this one.
The best I can figure is it turns all of your Merfolk into Lord of Atlantis.
Sure.
It's not that great.
Sure. I mean, it's not awful, but sure, that is something it could have done. What we added was Felder Retreat. This is a way to put counters on our team. Works with Landfall. Pretty good card.
It's somewhat of a Nambo because he gets vigilance, but I don't think it's actually that big of a deal. If you have all the tap abilities that you want to use, most of the Merfolk tap themselves, so vigilance is relevant. It gives you a free attack. But if you really want to just have them end up tapped, don't attack with them. It's no big deal. Like, attack with them first, push through damage, and don't attack with them with the counter. Then just put the counter on post-combat. We don't care.
Our way of tapping is not combat. But it really isn't.
Right, most of the time we don't even
almost always. So I think it's not a Nambo. It's actually like an upgrade because now our creatures can't attack, then use their ability. So I think it's just an upgrade and great for the deck. Last thing we cut, we're going to get into the whole lands thing. This was a land came out and in place. One of the best counters cards in all of Commander, Cathay's Crusade, went in.
Yeah, we're happy to have white in this deck. This is one of the biggest contributors along with Felidar Retreat. You want the +1/+1 counters? Well, here you go.
This card, Cathay's Crusade is a bonkers card.
All right, Luke, we spent a lot of money and a lot of slots to upgrade the land base. We know you weren't really on a budget. Obviously, everyone's on some kind of budget. So I would say focus on the non-land cards is what we actually recommend, and then maybe build up to this mana base because we're going to recommend a lot of cuts. Should I just read them off?
Yeah, let's just read off the cuts here, just real quick.
Yeah, so we're cutting Reliquary Tower, Evolving Wilds, Seaside Citadel, Thornwood Falls, Bark Channel Pathway, Temple of Mystery, 1 forest, 1 swamp, and 8 islands. There were a lot of basics and a lot of sort of one-off cycles that aren't in our top 10 dual land cycles, so we just had to cut them. And we are adding...
The ads overall are pretty simple. Honestly, the one thing we didn't put here is it's one of those super staple things that I kind of mentioned before. The fetch, any number of fetch lands that you have. Literally every fetch land you had could go in this deck. That's fine. You had a few in here. That's awesome. But we added the 6 shock lands, the 5 crowd lands that you didn't have. So that was like filling out like the color fixtures. And we also added in a Triome, which, another color fixing.
The Sultai one.
The Sultai one, yep. And for utility lands, we added Gavany Township, which is going to allow us to put counters on our team. Nestor Ground, which lets us move counters on our team. And Alchemist Refuge just works wonders with a card like Seedborn Muse.
Yeah, it gives our spells flash. Now we just have Prophet of Crufix.
Yeah, and
that card's banned.
That card is banned in this format. But, that is everything. We got to go over the stats, though, real quick.
As we said, the budget was non-existent, and we spent $369.
Nice.
With a big fat asterisk because... I got to mention it. I got at least $150 to $200 as lands.
Yeah, the lands aren't super duper important to upgrading this deck, but we want to make the mana base look better.
It needed attention.
It did definitely need attention. You should work on improving it, but that's okay. The original average mana value of the deck was 3. We upped it a little bit to 3.26. I'm sorry.
I'm not sorry. I think the deck is way better now. I think you got a lot of focus theme. You got everything you asked for, and I think this is a sweet one. 43 changes in total. Again, big chunk of lands. We wanted to make sure that we showed you what our optimal land base would be without fetches. So there's that. 43 changes, and I think this deck is sweet and surprisingly effective.
Thematic. Super, super on. Like, the theme of tapping and untapping is actually surprisingly good for Merfolks. But that is our video. Special shoutouts to every single one of our patrons, including you, Luke Gosling.
Yes. We have several ways for you to support the channel. Patreon.com is the most obvious one. You can join these people here, or you can just be selfish, and I promote that 100% because if you are selfish and want to buy cards for yourself, you can go to tcgplayer.com, buy the cards you want. No problem here. If you start with the link, we still get some kickback, and you can still support the channel while supporting yourself, which is great.
Literally, same cards, same place, same price, and you support the nerds. That's pretty good for us.
That's like your new thing, huh?
I like that. I started to like that. I think it's you don't have to change anything. All you have to do is start with that link. You get to buy the cards the exact same way. There is nothing changing, except we get supported, and that is great.
And of course, I mean selfish in the best way. Not you're mean or bad. Just like, hey, doing something for yourself. That's good.
BZ has to...
I have to backpedal.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, BZ's backpedaling here.
Everyone's great.
You can also go to dragonshield.com. That is the other way to indirectly support us. Buy the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
And if you do that, you're going to be supporting the Nitpicking Nerds. They also have deck boxes and other mats. Other great accessories for Magic the Gathering.
And now there's 10 people that I really want you to meet. Like Anthony Nixon, a generous supporter of the channel.
Yeah, and Daniel Beeson. B.
I'm scared of bees. It sounds kind of like BZ, so I appreciate that. Newton McSchlonzo might be the name of the day.
Yeah, well, another one I'm just not going to comment on. We also have Nicholas Devantier.
And Hunter. It's like Hunter, but Hunter with 2 O's.
I think it's like a German name, Hunter.
It might be. Can you read this one right on the first try?
This is RJW1 80877.
Hey, we got there.
Classic.
Almost as classic as Debacle Sam. Now, debacle is an underused word that is very fun to say.
Yeah, the debacle is...
It's like such a dramatic way to describe something. Like, how did shoe shopping go? It was a debacle.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who actually uses that term. We also have Alar, Ular, something along those lines. I'm perfect.
And their little avatar is a color wheel, so that's cool. Or a beach ball.
Either one. It could be a beach ball or a color wheel. You tell us.
Big Spicy Senpai. Wow, really competing for name of the day. Also, no comment on that, but they're big and spicy.
Big, spicy, and a senpai. I mean, it's all the things you've ever wanted to be. And we also have Yiji Ren. Well, it's a pretty cool name.
Simple to say, it rolls right off the tongue, and I'm sure Joe pronounced it correctly.
I mean, how could I have said it wrong? I mean, Yiji is definitely correct.
So how about a tidbit about our lives? Do we have anything to share with them?
Well, of course. I mean, our lives are so exciting and full of drama nonstop. Yep.
Well, I was at Walmart. Do you have a favorite candy?
Like favorite
Like
candy?
you have a go-to candy. You do, right?
I mean, I like Sour Patch Kids, but I don't really eat too much candy anymore.
I don't either. Something happened where I just fell off of like always wanting to eat chocolate and candy. I did pick up some Lifesaver gummies at Walmart today, but they're out of stock of the Starburst gummies. Now, Starburst gummies are like one of the best candies I've ever had. They're so poppable. And I guess if Starburst Gummies wants to sponsor this channel, 100% I'm in. They're so good.
I mean, I think we got to reach out to them. I don't know if anyone...
Starburst Gummies will come to us.
I don't think anyone working... Starburst is owned by one of the large companies.
They'll come to us.
I don't even know who owns it, like off the top of my head, but it's definitely one of the bigger companies.
Dude, they would send us Starburst Gummies, and we get to eat them for free. That's like the dream.
You're going to have to email them, Beezy. I don't think they're coming to us.
Dear Starburst Gummies.
We would love...
Do you like Magic the Gathering? Well, we're about to corner that whole audience for you.
Well, let me tell you, our crowd, I would imagine that people watching this video would love some Starburst Gummies.
I think so, too.
That sounded very bad. Peace out, Tribe Scouts. Love you guys.